Yeah, so welcome everybody to part 4 of our sessions for finance and risk at the Delta training for S/4HANA Cloud. As you know, we had 3 sessions prior to this. So if you're interested in them and haven't had time to attend, you can always refer to the recording, which will be available on the landing page and on Partner Edge. And now we come to part 4, which is actually GRC only. So the first topic of this session will be on privacy governance, which will be presented by Dominik Schwarz from Product Management for Privacy Governance. Then we will have an update what is new with document compliance by Erika Bouzon, who does solution management for document compliance. And last but certainly not least, we have the update on identity access governance, which will be covered by Shama Adite, who's the Chief Product Owner for Access Governance and Access Control. Yeah, and without any further ado, I would hand over to Dominik.
So let me give you a short update about what we're doing currently with SAP Privacy Governance. I want to present you a new feature with this, the manual procedures, and then give you a very short outlook on our current roadmap as it stands today. So quick recap on SAP Privacy Governance as a public cloud software as a service solution built from multiple reuse services. You may be familiar with this kind of picture from financial compliance management because it's the little sister of the solution at this time. In the last iteration, we implemented here a far more complex organization and process hierarchy. And in the very latest instance, we did an update on the report issue. So we have the security issue management now in place, and the remediation risk response management in the remediation plan management. But what I want to focus on and show you today is the manual procedures. Again, you might be familiar with these from financial compliance management, which had them implemented, I think, 2 or 3 months earlier. But we have a little bit of a different approach to it, so it might be worthwhile showing it again to you if you are not familiar with this whole concept. So what are manual procedures? Manual procedures are basically an enhancement to our automated procedures. You would use manual procedures wherever you cannot use an automated procedure, meaning, for example, where you have a physical interaction. For example, you have a clean desk policy. Monitor the clean desk policy is very hard to do via a CDS view. So you have somebody walk through your offices and looking for personal data files on desks, or maybe lift up a keyboard once in a while and see if there is a password noted below this. Or more complex technical steps, for example, reviewing, so reading out logs from HANA database, for example, or checking an Active Directory, which cannot be automated as it is now for our SPG solution, since we can only read what is written into a HANA database. So manual procedures consist of multiple steps you design and perform. And to execute a manual procedure, you need to schedule it via a work package. And the work package itself is usually or must be scheduled by a control. This means you need to assign a procedure to a control, and you can assign this one procedure to multiple controls. You can also assign the same procedure to the same control and then give it different parameters. So in the case of automated procedures, you can assign the same procedure to one control and assign one individual systems to each procedure and with different parameters. So for example, you have a S/4HANA system and you assign this procedure where you look for business partners which have elapsed their retention period. But these are the business partner category 1, and you have an HR system maybe where you assign these because you have training attendees which are mapped there, or a CRM system. And there the business partners have another category. So you would need to assign it different times. And the same is possible with manual procedures. And you can assign this to different persons, different teams to execute these steps, but I will show you in the demo. The outcome, again, if after the procedure is concluded and performed, you given a result, so passed or failed, and a comment to this, and this will be aggregated to the control level for reporting, or an entry point for reporting for further processing or remediation. And overall, you have here these kind of steps. So you design the procedure, you activate it, you assign it to a control, schedule it via a work package. So we usually go with the intent that you regularly do these kind of procedures. So you schedule them and say, okay, every 5th of the month, you execute this for the last month or each quarter, something like this, and you have maybe a week or two to perform these steps before you get a reminder. And you assign responsible people or specialists, and then they will get sent a task which they receive in their inbox. They click on it, they go to the manual procedure task item and perform these, given update on the comment, and an assessment of results, passed, failed, etc. And then close it, and this completes the work package, and therefore it's triggering the further remediation steps. Good. Then let me quickly jump to my demo system. It's still open. That's great. So this is our launchpad of SAP Privacy Governance. We have here the tile design manual procedures. And here is the repository of all the procedures. In this case here, everything is active. To create a manual procedure is very, very simple. Going in there, saying, okay, let's just put in here nonsense. So manual procedure demo. We give here a description, why we fight. And then add steps. And this is, as I said, very, very straightforward. You say here, this is step 1. You would describe it. I come to a very good business example later on. So this is here step 1, and here we do that. And then we create another step and say here step 2 is then we do this. And this is basically it. Yeah, you would save it, create it, save it, activate it, and it's in the system and can be assigned to a control. So how does this look like? For this, I would go to the controls. I just created a control in preparation for this. So in here, I mixed a manual and an automated control. So I have here created a control, check deletion of business partners, and then do a consent review. You give here control management, you have here a name and a validity period, and you can have further information, recommended monitoring frequency monthly, and describe what you're doing. So we are ensuring compliance for business partners, meaning we automatically check the deletion of business partners where the retention period was lapsed. And then we manually check the consent for our newsletters. And we assigned here 2 procedures. The automated procedure, detect the business partners need to be deleted via a system type or data service. And we have here defined the destination with parameters defined here. And I mean, here, I think I defined just that the business partner category should be equal to 1. And we have here the manual procedure, which has no parameters, no systems, because here, once we create the work package, we need to assign the user. And I'll show you quickly, create a ad hoc. This way you can create an ad hoc package, which is then just executed once. And for the assignee, you can, in this case, you cannot, you need to put in a name directly. So I'll come back to this later on. Going further on the control, so regulation, you can assign a regulation and so on. And what you see here is that this control is executed once, and we have already executed the automated procedure. This was executed 1 or 2 hours ago, and with the result failed. So we have here a result overview about all the business partners found in these business systems, which shouldn't be there. Which should have been deleted anyways because they're older than a year, and our retention policy says this should be deleted, which will not. So further investigation would be go to the admin, and see what went wrong here. Maybe there's an open dispute or claim, and this could not be deleted because we still needed the business partner, even though we have no business with him currently. The manual procedure is still in process, and this is what I will show you now, how to perform the manual procedures here with this task. So go into the status of in process. Sorry, not in process, on a new. So we have here two older ones, and here, which I still should do or should have done already, and the one here from my ad hoc control package. Check deletion of business partners for content review. And here you have the step. So first thing I would do is I go into edit mode because I want to perform it now. And read the description. Okay, review the SQL database for commercial update newsletter to business partners for entries where the respective business partner or individual employee has revoked their consent to be sent newsletter. So meaning our newsletter database is not our CRM database, but is a different standalone SQL database, which is connected to probably Outlook. And now we have here these steps numbered, and then with the name and a description, we have a result frame and a comment field. We could perform them individually and go into more details. I personally don't like this view. I don't see the added benefit to it. So what we could do here, first step is request access to newsletter database in the corporate SQL database. So details, so request access or make an appointment with an admin if it's not possible. And I'm virtually doing this and saying, okay, passed. I have made an appointment with the admin. Might be already enough. So review the newsletter inbox. This is a different task here, and find verification email. So access our central email inbox from the newsletter, and you notice if you reply them to consent revoked, unsubscribed, then these come back to this inbox. And now I find them. So okay, say okay, I passed. Okay, I found 11 new recipients. Come on, recipients, which want deletion. Okay, then I create a list of these users. Okay, passed. Yeah, 11 entries. They are by email, and for the later on for my step 5 here, where I need to match them with the CRM system, business user IDs maybe, to update this in the CRM system as well. As I said, it's all manual. Everything which cannot be automated or should not be automated can be done here in this manual database. And review database, limit users from recipient list. And I say, okay, I also did this, all deleted. And maybe the last step, to update CRM, is something I cannot do on my own. So I would save it and then maybe forward it via an email to a colleague saying, okay, please perform this step for me because I cannot do this. Maybe this was assigned to me and other colleagues as a team, and I can send them an email, say, okay, I'm done already, please take care of this. Maybe they see this on their own. Maybe it sits across my desk and say, okay, please, Harry, go on and do the CRM update. Here's the list. I send it by email to you as well. I could also do all this. What I want to do is I want, okay, he tells me now, okay, it passed, all done, all done. And my overall result now is this manual procedure is passed. 11 entries deleted from database. And I save it and set this manual procedure to completed. After this, it is not editable anymore. It's done. And when I go back now to my control, and see here, go here in all runs. So I see now that my automated procedure is still in failed, of course, and my manual procedure is now in passed. And I can review here as a control owner. I could drill into and review exactly what I just documented. This stays in the system with the description and everything which is aggregated here. So what we will enhance in later iteratives, we ship this here as continuous delivery. We will add here a possibility to attach something which is not out yet, which will be coming maybe at the end of the year or so. So we can here attach also, for example, here a list which I created, an Excel spreadsheet or something, to this as evidence to this control or to this procedure. I could already do this also on control level. Maybe reach out to the guy who performed the procedure. Say, okay, please send me the list of the users in privacy terms. Not ideal, but maybe you have other list. Maybe a screenshot of a unclean desk, something like this, and I attach this to my control for later on reassessing my risk connected to this. So very quickly, let me show you the Teams functionality. So when I create a work package, and I give dummy from today to Thursday, and then we schedule it to run quarterly on the 5th day of the quarter. And the date range should always be the previous one quarter. For example, in manual procedures, this does not make too much sense, but for automated procedures, or when you mix them, then you need to define here these kind of stuff. You will see in the manual procedure when you get the task what kind of period you should check, and then they can be also of importance. So now I want to add my control here. No, this is not the correct one. Which control did I want to do? This and something with review. Okay, never mind. Let's take this manual control here. Don't know why I don't find it here. So that is an automated control. Sorry, I need my manual control. Utilization checks should be a manual control. Here you see here now I have the destinations in automated controls. This is very badly named, where I would create or assign a system. And here I would assign user or users. And I can go here and I have here created, for example, a team, which is an enablement team. There are several users from our IDP behind this, or I can pick multiple users and assign them to them. And each one of them is in the position to perform this control. Only one needs to perform the procedure, sorry. Not all of them have to do it, but maybe he is the one for step 1, he is the one for step 2, and he is the one for the final assessment. Might be possible. This should be managed via policy, via handbook. All right. Back to my presentation to give you also a short outlook on our roadmap. So recent innovations, as I quickly told about in the introduction, the risk response planning. Yeah, so we can define responses after a risk incident, and our issue and remediation management or security issue handling, how we call it here. These are all developed. They are currently in shipment, so this means they will be available hopefully end of the week, maybe later. I don't know. It's out of my hand, unfortunately, but these are done. At the end of the year, we will release automated security procedures. Point here is that these will be available for our customers only with the next S/4HANA release, meaning in 2202. So this means this is basically a dummy for you as of this moment, because these new security procedures are only available next year. Risk taxonomy tables will be this is an enhancement to our templates for risk. And over the next year, what we want to do is data breach incident handling. This should be coming middle of the year, so end of Q2 probably. So more on the privacy side of the security issues. We will build an asset inventory similar to our risk and process organization hierarchies, an asset inventory where you can map risks and controls against. We will build key risk indicators. This will be coming beginning of Q3 next year. So you're similar to automated procedures, which then automatically affect a risk assessment, so to say, if there is a certain threshold triggered. And policy exceptions, so our policy management, where you can distribute and change and acknowledge policies. There will be an exception approval workflow. This is an enhancement because the policy in itself, the service is encapsulated and contained service in its own. And product vision. So this is what we want to do long term. So there will be a dynamic risk register which enhances further the risk management. We want to do the data lifecycle governance for burden of proof. So this is an enhancement together with the data subject access rights data collection. So this comes into the domain of data subject access requests, where we can automate and ease up the proof and fulfillment obligations of you as a company of organization against a data subject when they request the data access. So they get the information. So this will be further automated, but then they trigger maybe some tasks like I want to be deleted from your databases. And so this will be further automated, further integrated into the system. So are there any questions?
So, dear participants, that's your chance to ask a question to Dominic regarding privacy governance. You can maybe write them in the Q&A tool if you like. One question that I would imagine that people might be interested in is the availability for on-premise of what you just showed with the manual procedures. Maybe you can elaborate a bit on that.
So automated procedures are available for S/4HANA systems in general. So S/4HANA systems with the latest release have always the latest CDS views basically, or procedures implemented into them, which we collect via our data service and the cloud connector. So on-premise S/4HANA systems have always this amount of procedures which are with the most recent, also they have the complete scope of procedures with the most recent upgrade patch of S/4HANA or release version of S/4HANA. We're currently working on integration to ECC. I think this will be done beginning of next year. So early next year, so we can integrate also ECC, so ERP 6.0 systems. Problem here is that they must run on a HANA database to be able to, or for us to be able to run our CDS views, because an old database, a non-in-memory database, cannot run these CDS views.
Okay.
Other than that, this is SAP technology, so we integrate also fully into S/4HANA Cloud Edition. But for the moment, that's the whole scope. We are building currently more APIs, so you can connect more systems to the SPG or to our services general in our cloud, in our BTP cloud solution.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I've got another question for you. What about the licensing? So is this part of S/4HANA, or does this require a separate license?
SAP Privacy Governance is a standalone product, so to say, as software as a service. We are a public cloud solution in a business technology platform. The license, or is a cloud solution service, is a subscription, is not that expensive. We are at this moment also in the Substore. So if you go to the Substore.com page, I don't know, and search for the privacy governance, you find there that there is a entry there where you can very easily subscribe to the solution, but generally available, not included to any packages. What you might need or might want to consider is when you go for SPG that you also have or get a subscription to SAC, because And SAP privacy governance does not come with integrated reporting. So we just have list reporting, so you can extract table views or tables or lists, but we have no graphical interfaces for the reporting. We rely there on SAC, as is our cloud strategy in general. So if you want to do reporting, do it in the analytics cloud. And if you want to enhance workflows at this point in time, you would need also a BTP workflow subscription, which is very cheap as far as I remember.
Okay, perfect. Thank you ever so much, Dominic. Great presentation and demo, much appreciated. If there are no further questions, and I can see no questions in the chat, I would hand over to the next speaker, which is Erika, who will talk about document compliance. Erika, over to you.
Thank you, Katrin. Let me share my screen, first of all. Can you see my screen? Can you just confirm before I start talking too much?
Yes, we can see it.
All right, thank you. So, well, thank you everyone for joining the session. So, of course, there is a bit of an announcement. Some of you may have heard already from other channels, as we had the Global Summit week before last, time fly. But as part of this session, we'll cover SAP document and reporting compliance, which is let's say the successor of the document and compliance you are familiar with. And that's the latest offering, let's call it the evolution to meet all the requirements which continue to evolve. So as part of this session, I will first give you an overview of which business need we are trying to address. So why we are evolving as our offering. Of course, it's not just coming up with something new, but is to continue to evolve in line with the external environment, because when you get to taxes, responding to the latest mandate, the main goal. So we'll give you a bit of background where we are coming from, then what the latest offering is, and I'll bring to life with a demo. As part of the demo, I'll cover the end-to-end, and of course, I'll highlight what is new, what was new in 2108, what is new in sales release, and then we'll close with a bit of roadmap and scope item, because there are quite a few changes on the scope item as well, which you may get question on. And with this one, I'll start. So in terms of where we are coming from, so of course, like the word suggests, that this is a tool to fulfill the compliance mandate. So when we come up with innovation, and as we continue to evolve, our tool is to future-proof the system to respond to the latest trend that the government are following. And if we, in this regard, if we are looking at the external environment, this slide bring a little bit to life the evolution we had in the last 10 years, which has completely changed, let's say, how government are looking at compliance. If we look 10 years ago, like the 3 countries were looking into digitalization of compliance, 4 countries, and 3 of them are the most complicated in the world, which we know about. And if we look at it now, even today, just last year, we are struggling to keep this slide updated because it does change every other day, basically. But if we look at now, pretty much every country around the world has invested in digitalization, and as a result has changed the compliance requirement. And the different countries are driven from different reasons and different, they have different drivers behind the changes they are introduced, but they are all moving to transforming the mandates, leveraging the latest digital technology to of course, digitalize their processes and improve transparency. In fact, if we look at the main drivers in this area, a lot of the countries are have requirements which are introduced by the tax authorities to prevent the tax evasion. Of course, if we look at the VAT gap in Europe, only Europe has been estimated to be a lot of billion. And of course, if government are collecting line item data in real time, they have much better opportunity to get correct VAT reporting, and as a result address the VAT gap and make money out of it, obviously. Another big trend is on the B2G, business to government transaction. Of course, government has the need to keep their process efficient while having the right control in place. And if everything is exchanged electronically with no manual intervention, of course, they achieve both. So that's in a lot of countries, especially in Europe, we see that electronic documents are mandatory for all business to government type of business. And then last but not least, some countries are introducing digital exchange of information to increase the efficiency of the economy, and some examples are Australia and Singapore. So again, there are different reasons that are motivating the different countries to invest in digitalization. However, regardless what the driver is, they are all moving toward the same direction, which is continuous transaction control. So regardless the reason that is driving their investment, they're all moving toward the same, let's say, ultimate goal. And of course, we don't have a timeline here, and it's harder to put timeline against these phases because every country is sort of unique, and that's where we end up every time we talk about tax. But of course, 10 years ago, we were most of our customers were dealing with paper return or online form that they had to populate once per month or once per quarter or even once per year. So let's say very aggregated reporting on a regular basis, and that was 99% of the country on that type of requirement. If we look instead at the world now, that is completely the opposite. Most of the country are no longer relying on aggregated data, which is the part we see here in the middle. Most of them have moved to electronic invoices or electronic accounting, which mean electronic exchange of line item data. And most of them are taking to the next level, which is clearance and what we call e-verify. And clearance basically mean you can't send invoices to your customer without sending to the government, or you need to send to the government in parallel, and only upon authorization you can send it to your customer. Same thing, of course, for inbound. And e-verify, the government is preparing the VAT bill on behalf of our customer, which seems a simplification of the process, but is bringing all new set of needs, which will bring to life throughout the presentation. And that's and this is the exact need that we are trying to fulfill with SAP document and reporting compliance. So SAP document and reporting compliance is combining former SAP document compliance and SAP solution for advanced compliance reporting into one solution. And the idea is to provide our customer with one solution that can fulfill all type of mandates. Because in most of the country, we no longer have electronic invoice and periodic reporting, but we have one end-to-end process. So the idea is to provide one solution that they can future-proof their system, because regardless the type of mandate, they have a solution that can fit that type of mandates. They don't need multiple solutions based on the frequency, but most importantly, they can future-proof themselves to fulfill the latest requirement, which are moving toward continuous transaction control. And when I say continuous transaction control, it means that we need to transmit data in real time, like invoice data in real time. And these invoice data are then flowing seamlessly to periodic reporting, which is either prepared by the government on behalf of our customer, or our customer are still preparing, but they, of course, need to be fully in sync with the data shared in real time. Because if the two processes are managed, let's say, independently or standalone with no reconciliation, with discrepancies between the two, of course, our customer gets in trouble. So the idea is to have one solution that can fulfill all, to simplify the system and future-proof against any type of requirement, but also to enable such, let's say, end-to-end process, which is where our customer need to go to remain compliant in the digital world. And of course, we are combining the two former products, like I mentioned. And of course, on top of combining the two former products, we're introducing some innovation. Some came in 2108, some are coming 2111, some are in the roadmap, which we'll see now, to enable this seamless transition, which I was referring to. And this one is just another representation of what I just explained. I just wanted to bring to life because you may have seen in other presentation, and even if I've joined Andreas in the morning, you have seen it. So I'll be very quick on that one, but I just wanted to make sure we link the dots and we don't miss anything. So this one is exactly what we are trying to fulfill when we say continuous transaction control. So when we share document in real time, we create a digital link between our system, which is S/4HANA, and the government. And that digital link is sufficient to get tax authorities to become the source of truth. So, and if tax authority become a source of truth, then our customer must make sure that is fully in sync with S/4HANA. Because if the government start making use of their source of truth, which we are seeing the first country doing so, then taxpayer must make sure that's in sync with their system. Because if there is not in sync with S/4HANA, of course, like they get into challenges when it comes into reporting. And this establishment of source of truth on the government side, it does allow it's allow a paradigm shift, because like I mentioned, certain government are starting to prepare the VAT return on behalf of our customer, and that sound again simple, but it brings an inversion of roles, because our customer, instead of having to prepare a return, need to audit the proposal from the government, and audit the proposal from the government is even more complicated than preparing, and because that need to be done on a regular basis, so every month or every quarter, depending on the frequency, then that's where a combined product that can enable that in an automated and seamless manner is fundamental for our customer to be compliant in an efficient manner. And if you want to know more detail about this, and there are a couple of more recordings we can point you to, and please reach out directly as well if you have any question, but hopefully gave you some background of the business need and the rationale for bringing the two products together and what we are trying to achieve with the SAP document reporting compliance. I'll bring to life with I'll just give you an overview of what I'm going to show in the demo, just to make sure to set a bit of context and to make sure we don't get lost into too many details in the demo, and then I'll jump into the system. So like I mentioned, document and reporting compliance for the first time support the end-to-end process. So there is no electronic business document and statutory reporting as a standalone processes, but it does cover the end-to-end. And this, let's say, harmonization between real-time reporting and periodic report, it's through this holistic dashboard that allow to monitor any pending document that has been exchanged in real time, and then allow to transition to statutory reporting once they have been corrected. So this one is the glue, which has been deployed in 2108, and there are new feature in there will be new feature in 2111, and it's the glue between the real-time and periodic reporting, and that's where it's the first step to ensure the two processes are in sync, and if there is anything opening one side, it is considering the other, and vice versa. And that will continue to evolve, of course, to make as automated as possible and as seamless as possible as more countries are moving toward that model. So this one is the overall process and what the glue that is new, and of course the process is designed to enable as much automation as possible, because on the electronic document side, it does support the automated creation of the electronic document in real time with no touch. And of course, there are manual intervention if there are errors, but also correction of the error can automate it. And they also allow to automatically reconcile in certain country. Of course, it's country specific, reconcile between S/4HANA and the government portal to ensure there are the to system are in sync in line with what we just discussed in terms of the latest requirement. And then, of course, once statutory reporting start, it does support the end-to-end process. So it's not just the creation of the form, but the true end-to-end preparation process, which we'll see now in the system. Of course, this part will continue to evolve as government move into draft to be accepted, but as government move to that direction, of course, from a system point of view, we will continue to evolve as well to cover such type of requirements. I'm not going to spend much more time on this slide, as I'll show you the end-to-end demo in the system. So as I mentioned, I'll give you an end-to-end demo so you can truly see how our customer can manage the end-to-end compliance process. And then as I'll go through the demo, I'll point out to you what is new in either 2108, 2111, and what else we expected to come. So the dashboard is new, and some cards were there in 2108 and some will be there in 2111. And then, of course, we have some improved user experience, which I'll share with you. Of course, some is still in progress, but I'll share you what is available now and what the upcoming release will also bring to us. And with this one, I'll jump into the demo. Before I jump into the demo, is there any question in the chat that better to answer now?
Not at the moment, Erica.
All right, then I'll jump into the demo. So I'll show you the end-to-end. So I'll start with the outgoing invoices. Of course, the creation of the outgoing invoices is as part of S4HANA. So document reporting compliance doesn't create the actual billing document. However, upon creation of the billing document, exactly the same of when you release a billing document to accounting, you also create an electronic business document. So as you can see here, now we post it to accounting. The system creates an accounting business document, and automatically, if we go into the cockpit, it does create an electronic business document. So of course, now I'll show you all the steps to bring to life the process, but this is all automated. And in this screen that you've seen here, so this one, it's the cockpit for electronic business document that you are familiar with. And we now have a new version. It was deployed in 2108 for Purple. Spain is coming, and that will be expanded to more countries. The current end-to-end process is still integrating with the old one because, as I mentioned, the new one, which is more, let's say, Fiori, it's based on the latest EU5 in Fiori, obviously. It's available only for certain scenario, but in the upcoming release, of course, we do expect the new one to be integrated in the end-to-end process as the coverage reach parity of the old one. So I'll show you now, I'll continue to show you now the end-to-end with the existing one, which is again the one that integrated with the dashboard, so it's going to be the most commonly used one for the end-to-end process, but I'll quickly show you the new one at the end, because in the upcoming release, it will be fully integrated in the end-to-end process as well. So in here, like I said, once created, of course, the document is sent to the government in real time. Again, doesn't need to be sent out manually. And exactly from this screen, you can monitor the latest status. And this one is outgoing, but if we go now, the same level of automation apply to incoming as well. Of course, incoming, it depends on the government, the availability of the API. And also for Italy, for example, is a pull, for Purple is a push. However, on regular basis, we trigger all the invoices which have been received by the government, from the government, and those invoices are received directly in our system and can be used for further processing. So now we can see that the job was run as found. I'm using Italy for this example, which is quite complete and comprehensive country. So in this example, the system must trigger invoices from the government portal, and these are XML invoices, which are in the XML schema of country-specific XML schema. And as these invoices are received in the system, they automatically create an electronic business document, which exactly in the same dashboard we were before. If we now jump into the incoming part, and you can see that they also we create a human readable version. So of course, if you needed to process the AP invoice, you also needed to have visibility. So the corresponding human readable version is created automatically, of course, in real time as the XML is received. When it comes to incoming invoices, there is, of course, a difference between OP and cloud. There is because the solution for processing of supplier invoices are different between OP and public cloud. So on public cloud, there is no integration with vendor invoice management. So invoice needed to be processed manually. And then once the invoice have been processed manually, they can be accepted or rejected in document and reporting compliance, so they can be updated on the government website. Of course, the level of automation will continue to be further enhanced as capability in the P2P space will allow so. But still the product support the end-to-end process, because upon processing of the supplier invoice, we can automatically update the status on the government portal, which is of course required to complete the process in such a country. Now that we have seen incoming and inbound, we jump into the dashboard. So this one is the new dashboard which I was mentioning. So for the one of you that joined the 2108 session, season was introduced in 2108 with 3 cards only. Now in 2111, we will have 4 cards, 2 on statutory reporting and 2 on real time. So the statutory report are on the left-hand side of the screen, and the real-time invoices are on the real-time documents, electronic document are on the right side of the screen. And season is the latest version that will be deployed in 2111. So as I mentioned, there were 3 cards on 2108. The 1 card for electronic business document has been split into 2 to support the process more effectively, and will continue to evolve. So we do expect many more cards to come in the upcoming release. So release by release, this dashboard will continue to be, let's say, enhanced and enriched to further support the process with the seamless transition I was discussing earlier. So one of the enhancements in 2111 is the card that we can see here on the right, where you can see the outstanding invoice for each document. And as you click on, it takes directly to the cockpit where you can take the required correction. And season is the integration I was discussing before. So season is still integrated to the, let's say, historic version of the cockpit for electronic business document. And in the future, it will be updated to drill down to integrate to the latest Fiori version once the scope has been expanded, because it doesn't include, for example, it doesn't include Italy as well. I'll give you again a very quick overview at the end. And the idea is that from the main dashboard, you can see there is one document with outstanding action. You click on it, you get prompted directly to the file. And with very few clicks, you can see the error message. So directly from the history, you can see what is why the government rejected the file. So you don't need to, and it's always a one-to-one link that you can find in here. So you don't need to look for the file. The system give it to you, and you can see, like you can see in here, that the one of the code was incorrect. So in this case, you need, for example, to cancel the document. So the file give you all the information you need, and that's country specific, obviously, depending on the government. You can go in here, and one more click, you can cancel the document, because it is all embedded in the cockpit in itself. And once you cancel the document, with again one click, you can drill down to the underlying invoice, because that's all one-to-one connected between the cockpit, and you can also cancel the underlying invoice, so you can issue a new invoice. And again, it's within one system, so it's all seamless connected. And now I'll go back to the dashboard, and now you can see in here that on the right-hand side, there are no open action anymore. And that's what I was saying earlier, that this dashboard represents the glue between real-time and periodic reporting to enable a seamless transition, because now you can see on the right-hand side, there are no action pending, there are no document failing for Italy, there are no further action to be taken, so the accountant can start the preparation of the periodic report. In some companies, the process is managed end-to-end by the same team, which has been established with the introduction of the digital requirement. In some company, it is still, let's say, managed by separate people, and regardless, it is managed by one person or multiple people, of course, the dashboard can be leveraged, because even if the process is managed by the different people, the accountant still want to know that his or her colleague has completed all the action before that are required before the preparation of the report, and that's what is enabled by this dashboard. So if the same person can take the action and then go to the next step. If there are different people within the organization, then the person responsible for periodic report can monitor that all the other have been completed, and again, if there is anything pending, can follow up with his own colleague. And then once they've been taken from here, it can start directly the task, or can go to the compliance calendar where all the tasks are due. And now click on that one so I can show you. It looks like most of you are familiar with this. This one is definitely not new in neither 2108 nor 2111. And then either you can see all the tasks in there or can filter for the specific country. And then once they filter for the specific country, they can start the preparation of the periodic task. And these are some of the tasks you are familiar. The first one is for adjustment. And here is also where the glue come into place, because if there are any invoice with outstanding action, the accountant can come here and exclude from periodic reporting. So if there is any invoice that is pending for correction in the dashboard, because the electronic document need to be corrected, they can exclude from periodic reporting, because if the invoice has never been accepted by the government, has not been registered, let's say, on the government website, of course, it should not be included in the periodic reporting. And here they can also write a notes of why it's being excluded. And once it has been excluded, the system does keep a full audit trail and also keep a further reference. So you come here all the time in the comment, they can see why a document was excluded, and at the same time, it can also include correction. If there is a document which has been corrected, like we have just seen, but has been posted to the new financial period, they can come here, search for the document, put in the following financial period, and they can add in here. And once documents are excluded or included, the system does all the other part, because once you exclude document, the system automatically proposes for the next period. If you include the document, the system automatically exclude for following period. And once you populate the tax reporting date, that is fully integrated in the financial document without creating any parallel source of truth for tax. And you can switch between this view and the tax item view if you want to see the line item of the document. All within the screen. But the idea is that these allow you to be fully in sync between real time and periodic. And when it is, you can mark as complete, and I'm sure you are familiar with this part, and then jump into periodic report. This one again is pretty much what you're familiar with, but I'll still demo because there are some new features, so I'll quickly run it. Of course, it's all in real time, so just give a second that it runs. It's reading in real time the data within the system. It's now it's gonna be generated. So now we'll jump into the return. So this is the return that has been prepared. Of course, we can drill down the data, the underlying data that are analytics. So you can slice and dice any dimension. I'll go fast because you are familiar. Can jump into the document, which is fully integrated with the accounting document. So within one right click, you can quickly jump into the journal entry overview. This feature, to avoid confusion, it's not new of this release, but I still want to show because it does. It's a key fundamental part of the end-to-end. From here you can see all the single documents with the attachment and identify any further error, any other error. And this one is instead the preview. So once you have looked at the data, you can look at the actual preview of the return. So this one is the feature which is partially new, let me say partially, in 21.11. So we added the preview in the previous version, but it was working only for, let's say, relatively small size, a small medium size file. Now you can see these three on the left hand side. It has been introduced to enable user, to enable our customer to see part of the file. So they can also visualize a big file with no issues. And of course, they can select the one part or the part of the file. And once they have selected, they can hide the panels so we got more space on the screen. And then, of course, that's the feature you are familiar with. But with this innovation, you can see that it has been now been made available also for big file. The rest of the process for statutory reporting has not changed versus the past. So of course you can still get the approval, and then upon approval the submission to the government, and the status can be tracked in the main dashboard. I will not show you the following step because again they are not new in 21.08 and 21.11, and I want to quickly show you the new cockpit that has been delivered between 21.08 and 21.11. So for the electronic business document, this one is the new Fiori report, which will replace the one we have seen. So as of this release, we are introducing PEPL and Spain. There will be an ACE to further country, and then it will be integrated in the main dashboard. So this one is the look and feeling. So here you have all the scenario, and you have green and red. So you do have an immediate understanding of what the latest status is. And if you click on one of those, you can see the whole details. And if we pick one that has failure, you can easily filter between error and you can of course go into it. You can have different between error in process completed. So this has been redesigned, keeping the Fiori user experience in mind, and give all the information required at fingertip. So of course the action allowed are the same that we are used today, but of course in a much more user-friendly, UI. Hopefully this gave you an overview. Given I've got only 1 minute left, one last thing I wanted to share on scope item. So as of 21.11, we're introducing a new scope item, 5XU, for SAP document and reporting compliance. So this one, it is new, but it's also not brand new. So it is taking out some content from the legacy 1J2. So if you have existing customer, they don't need to worry about anything on the 21 upgrade, because we make sure we guarantee continuity of the operation, so we don't disrupt operation. However, we should still ask our customer to activate 5XU, because they will be able to selectively activate customer country if they want, and also they will filter-proof to receive any new content we will deliver. If instead it's a new customer, if they want to use the feature which I just demoed, the end-to-end process, they need to request the activation of both 1J2 and 5XU. So 1J2 for new customer will no longer be sufficient for managing this process. Existing customer, they can activate 5XU at their convenience. For a new customer, they need to activate both to be able to leverage the end-to-end process. And if they have RITA, there are more scope items they required, but we'll not go into the details of RITA scope item. And with this one, I'll stop. Hopefully gave you an overview. I think there is one question in the chat. Not sure, Catherine, if there's still a minute to answer.
Right, we could take this question if you like. So it's the question is whether S/4HANA public cloud supports industry-specific data control requirements like hide, restrict, masking customer names in life science industry.
The specific requirement will need to look into in the specific report. If the report required the name of the customer to be submitted to the government, of course, we are pulling that information to be sent to the government. If it's not required, we don't pull in SAP document reporting compliance any unnecessary data. If it's a more generic question on the life on this industry, well, can discuss offline. But when it's required there are some reports that require customer name to be sent to the government. In that case, of course, we are sending to the government. I'm not aware there are exceptions for that industry, but we can talk offline if there are further questions on this specifically.
Okay, perfect. Thank you ever so much, Erika. Excellent presentation. Yeah, then I would hand over now to Sharma with Identity Access Governance. Sharma, over to you.
Thank you, and let me start sharing my screen. Let me know if you all can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, hello everyone. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I'll be giving an update on Identity Access Governance solution. Let me just move on to the next slide. Quick agenda, I think I'll give you an overview and then what's new in SAP Cloud Identity Access Governance solution and plan features and highlights. Again, those of you who are probably not familiar with Identity Access Governance solution, we basically address the access control, access governance needs for cloud, on-prem, and hybrid solutions with the segregation of duties, violation risks, or critical access risk analysis, and sophisticated role design ensures consolidates access across various business applications, addressing cross-application business processes, and then self-service as well as HR-driven identity lifecycles are supported with the access request process with an embedded compliance checks as a simulation in the simulation mode to ensure that we don't introduce any new risks into the system. And access certification process is something that enables you to review the access as you really adding more and more access to the individuals. In the cases where the access doesn't carry any validity period, it is essential that one has to adopt the periodic reviews to clean up the access rather than individuals actually accumulating access for a period of time. Privileged access management actually ensures that super user privileges are given to a specific set of users and what are the activity that is being done. Part of that sessions are captured and sent it for review so that the privileged users are performing what is required, nothing more, nothing less from that standpoint. With that, I think let's go into the specifics of what's new, which we added to the solution recently. Just to know, I think SAP Cloud Identity Access Governance solution is a SaaS BTP-based SaaS application, subscription-based, and we introduced a bunch of functions that enable you to get more transparency, ease of access from the overall access compliance standpoint. Risk report provides you more insights into the risk library that is delivered for out of the box for some of the major cloud applications like S/4HANA Cloud, Ariba, SuccessFactors, IBP, and various other things are coming in the pipeline. And then we also introduced something called user access details, which is enabling us to go towards the identity analytical reports. This is the first step in the direction. It gives you a list of applications that are connected to identity access governance solution, number of users, number of accesses within that system, and custom workflows. As you basically adding more and more functionality, there's a need for customizing these workflows and then adding the different stages or different sequence of the stages. Those stuff is basically now introduced in the last 2102. And access certification, we added a few additional enhancements to the review processes as well as the inbox process. And then, of course, it's essential that I think when we the business role updates are captured, the change log is captured. Along with that, since business roles basically modifications result in access adjustments, we also ensure that we capture all those logs part of the business roles audit log. Just to give you a little bit more insights in terms of what risk report is all about, the risk typically is defined by the two functions. In case of an S4D, we call it as the two functions. In case of a critical access, it will be single function. So what are the functions that are involved or associated with the risk? And then what are the actions and permissions under that? And then what business functions groups under which this risk is covered. This provides you a very good overview in terms of what is the risk definition is, and helps compliance teams get the necessary risk details, the transparency. So just to give you a little bit more insights into the drill down, you can see the risk definition and the type of risk, and then also the risk level. In addition, you will see a list of functions that are associated with the risk, and then the business function groups, in which it is basically linked with. And then when you go into the specific function, you will see on the right-hand side the actions and also subsequently the permissions. And when you go into the business function groups, you can also see the systems that are associated with the business function group. This gives you the complete 360-degree overview of the risk definition or the risk matrix that is either created by the customer or pre-delivered by SAP. Going into the next enhancement, which is more in terms of providing you more insights in terms of the user identity, user accounts, and then their access in various systems. We introduced a new tile on the dashboard, which basically gives you the total number of applications that are connected to the IAG system. And then although when you drill down into those, it will give you a little bit more details. We'll go to the drill down a little bit, but just going to the benefits, it gives you a complete overview in terms of how many user accounts are there in a specific system, how many roles are there, how many basically what are the roles that are assigned to a specific user in that system. And just to give you the drill down part of it, when you drill down into that tile, it actually gives you the list of systems, and then also gives you the user count on that system, and also the access count on that. And you can also go into the actual application user access details that will give you a little bit more insights in terms of what are the applications and what are the number of user counts, and then the access counts, and then drilling down into that list of users as well as list of accesses. As you see, I also introduced a filter criteria to get you the desired information on that system. And then when you basically drill down into the user, you can see all the roles or all the accesses that is given to that user on that system can be seen here. This gives you the more transparency in terms of identity and provides you one step in the direction of doing identity analytics. And moving on to the next topic, which is more on the custom workflows. Out of the box in IAG, we delivered one standard workflow, manager, role owner, security. We also have manager only workflow. And then there are also a few others workflows which are associated to other processes like certification and other things. We basically see that these processes or the stages that are basically involved in the approval process can be different based on the customer requirements. So this basically the enhancement provides you a possibility to create your own custom workflow with a specific set of stages and then a specific sequence, just to demonstrate the completely opposite process that I think we deliver the customers. I have introduced a new custom workflow template, which is basically with the sequence of security and is a first stage, and then followed by role owner stage, and followed by the manager stage. And this sequence can be altered, or it is not mandatory that you need to have all the 3 stages. You can have any 2 stages, or any one stage, or any stage, any combination, as well as any sequence that you would need. Just to give you a little bit insight in terms of how this can be done. So you can actually go and then add a custom workflow template, and that that actually gives you this screen where it will list all the standard stages, and then you can add them in the sequence that you want, and then you can also alter the sequence, and then just give a specific name and description, and then deploy this template into the workflow. Once you deploy it, that is available, and you can use that specific template name in your business rule to route your access request in that workflow path. And then business role audit logs, I think, again, when you're creating the business role or adding new access to the business role, or any other assignment activity that is being done part of the business role, all of them are captured. It is a kind of a change log with an audit information in terms of who has done what and when, provides you a lot more transparency and ease in terms of actually managing the business roles and optimizing the user access management. With that, I'll quickly pause. Are there any questions? I think there are. So we are implementing SAP Cloud Landscape at one of our customers, including concurrent sales code. Are these solutions? Okay, thank you very much. I think that's a question that I'm going to answer in the next slide. So if you're experiencing some issues or the performance kind of a thing, feel free to create a message, and we will be happy to address that. Will it be possible to customize the workflows per business roles? So currently, I think there are some limitations in terms of the initiators. Yeah, there are more enhancements coming in terms of customizing that from a workflow standpoint. Hope that helps, and then I think I will take the questions after that. So I think let's go over what else is basically coming through. So we have access risk assessment API. I think probably most of you know. If you don't know, we have an access request API that is published, which will allow for any third-party application or any other business application using which you can create an access request into the via an API. That actually the specific use cases there are. It's a business user is trying to perform certain activity, and then he doesn't have authorizations. He can as well create if the business application is knowledgeable enough that what is missing for that user. Immediately an access request can be created with this APIs from there into the access identity access governance solution, and the request can be processed, and then if there are no risks and if it is approved, the user will be getting the access as required. This actually reduces the cycle time and then probably improves the experience of the user. As part of that process, there is also identity management solutions. They are basically using the API to create requests from the identity management solutions for the business applications which are SOX compliant. So in that process, they wanted to basically double check whether the requested access has any risks or not before actually creating a request into IAG, or process it directly within those identity management solutions. The access risk assessment API provides you the ability to run the risk analysis or the simulation via an API to get whether the requested API access or the new access or the existing access has any risks or not, based on which the identity management solutions can make a decision whether to push the request or restrict the access there itself. And as somebody asked on the questions, so we are basically working towards introducing the access management for Concur solution and Sales Cloud or Service Cloud. Again, I think I want to be very clear here. We are talking about access management. The reason for that is we still are in the process of evaluating the APIs that provide a more granular authorization information so that we can provide the risk analysis to the lowest level possible. At this point, with the access management, it comes with the role level risk analysis. That means somebody has certain entitlement, then or if it is conflicting with any other group on Ariba or a role or a transaction or an action on a specific other application, the risks can be defined and then analysis can be done. But on the Concur side, it is not going below the low role level at this point in time. And same is the case with Sales Cloud. We are going to introduce the first level of access management, and we will basically add the next level of more comprehensive compliance and compliance checks, and then governance processes around that. Basically long awaiting, a lot of people are asking. I think customers who are having an experience with SAP Access Control, they are looking at in terms of how they can leverage, they can basically get the same level of details as they used to see on access control. Though conceptually, it is not always basically easy for a business user to comprehend the information in terms of the permissions or the lowest level of authorization objects, field values, kind of a thing. But with the demand and access, we are basically trying to see if we can provide actual conflict or the actual access risk that will help customers to basically make a more informed decision. With that, I think I'll also quickly go through the roadmap that is published. Sorry for the timeout. So we have, I think, a lot more things that are planned. For example, we are also working towards adding the advanced financial closing app integration or intelligent asset management integration, and from an access analysis standpoint, as well as access provisioning standpoint. And we also have a scheme-based interface for third-party integration into the IAG. That means any third-party application can provide the insights into the beyond the user roles and groups, underlying authorization information, so that we can at least we can perform the risk analysis at the lowest level possible with IAG. And then we are also providing, working towards adding the business roles concept, role template concept, which basically simplifies the overall access implementation, access management implementation when it comes to the composite processes which involve multiple business applications. With that, I think I come to the end of my presentation. If there are any further questions, we can take them. Are there any plans to implement mass provisioning, approving access requests? Yeah, this is currently in the review, and we will be we have Influence portal, influence.sap.com. Please feel free to look it up and then submit that or vote for that specific request. We'll be happy to consider in the next date, including into the IAG backlog and roadmap. Other SAP Cloud application solutions like IaaS, S4, SF, EC, etc. often embedded mail notification service in IAG. Customers need to configure this with their own mail server. Are there any plans to offer this? Fundamentally, the mail notification, this is purely access related, which could potentially include also the passwords. and then it is not secure enough that some other exchange server is actually sending such emails. So the recommended approach is to use your own exchange server, and then also ensures that I think you are getting the information or the emails from your own specific exchange server within your corporate, rather than some other mail server sending you password to your one of your internal systems. So I think there's a slight security risk if you are talking about sending such a kind of information or access information via third-party exchange server. So no plans yet on that one. I think we see there is a security risk in terms of providing such a kind of a thing. The next one is access analysis for S/4HANA Cloud Business Rules is difficult to interpret because IG is displaying details such as T code and alterations objects, whereas S/4HANA Cloud customers are not exposed to these objects. The objects known to S/4HANA Cloud customers are business catalogs and restriction types. Will this be harmonized? And if you carefully observe, when you look at the specific the risk definitions, this is also possible. You can actually define a risk with the business catalog or the underlying Fiori apps as well. It is only in some cases the alterations are not encapsulated in that format, and then that's why we still give that as an action as a business catalog level, but subsequent information is alteration information is provided in that format. Yep, thank you. I think I covered all the questions, I guess.
Yes, you did, Sharma. Great.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you ever so much. This was an excellent presentation, and we even managed to finish a bit earlier than expected. So with this, it only remains for me to thank all the speakers for their presentations. Really great stuff. I think we managed to show many interesting features and functionalities with the for 2108 and 2011. Yeah, and dear participants, we thank you for staying with us and attending the session. So what we would like to do now is finish, because yeah, there seem to be no more questions to be answered. And yeah, so this is, we really hope that you like the new format with this exclusive day for finance and risk, and that you like the topics that we presented. So we hope to see you again with the next Delta training, and especially the session from us from finance and GRC. So please stay safe, everyone. And yeah, with this, we can then close the session. Goodbye, everybody.